Hello everyone, this is Arun. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use OIC to invoke a BI Publisher report with parameters. And we're going to have multiple parameters for this report. In the previous video, I showed you how to invoke the BI Publisher report without parameters, and we transferred the output file to the FTP server. We're going to do the same thing in this one, but in this case, we're going to have multiple parameters being passed to the BI Publisher report. So let's take a look at how we can do that. Hey, if you're new to the channel, my name is Arun. I make videos on ERP Cloud, EPM, integrations, and analytics. If you'd like to see more videos on these topics, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Alright guys, let's get started. So in the previous videos, we saw how to use OIC, how to set up connections like REST connection, SOAP, FTP, right? We're going to do the same thing in this one. We're going to set up three different connections or adapters. So one is a REST adapter. Second one is a SOAP adapter. This is what we're going to use to invoke the BI Publisher report. And then we have a FTP adapter, which will help us to transfer the file to the FTP server. Now the REST adapter is needed because we need to get the parameters from the user or whoever, whatever system is invoking this integration. We need to have some mechanism of capturing the input. So it's the report name and the different parameters that we have to pass to the BI Publisher report. So we have a REST adapter. So I'm going to show you how to create the REST adapter, but the SOAP adapter and FTP adapter I've already shown you in my previous videos. So take a look at that. I'll leave a link to those videos in the description of the video, and you can probably see it in the cards of the video. All right, so the way this is going to work is the user is going to invoke the integration. It's going to be a REST based integration, and there'll be a payload that the user has to pass. And this payload has the information that we need, which we will then use to invoke the BI Publisher report. So basically the report name, the parameter name, and the associated value for that parameter. We can have one parameter or multiple parameters, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to show you this example with multiple parameters. So the user passes that information, we take that information, then pass that to the BI Publisher web service, and then the report gets invoked. We decode the file, decode the output as a file reference and pass it to the FTP adapter, which will then move the file to the FTP server. All right, and this is how the payload is going to look like. So when the user invokes the integration, this is what they're going to pass. So you'll see that we have report name, which is the path, the absolute path to the report in the catalog. So you'll see that you have, this is the name of the report, GL periods report, and .xdo. This is important. We have to pass .xdo and the parameters. So here you can see that I have included two different parameters, right? You can have one parameter, two, three, doesn't really matter. But this is how the basic payload is going to look like when the user invokes this integration. All right, let's go ahead and create the REST adapter. So I'm in Integrations, Connections tab. Here, Integrations, Connections. Let's click on Create, search for REST, give it a name. REST BI adapter. We're going to change this to trigger and then click on Create. All right. So nothing much here. So let's change this to basic authentication. You can use OAuth 2 or OAuth 2 or basic authentication. Let's go with basic authentication. Click on save, test, and save. All right, that's configured. Now I've created a target FTP server, and we're going to use the Invoke BI Web Services connector. This is a SOAP adapter, and this is what we're going to use as the SOAP adapter. This target FTP server, this one is what we're going to use for the FTP adapter. So we have the REST adapter, FTP adapter, SOAP adapter. Like I said, I've shown this in my previous videos, so make sure to check those videos. I'll leave a link to that in the description of the video. All right, so we have created the adapters or connections. Let's go ahead and create the integration. All right, the last one I showed it as a schedule orchestration, right? So this time we're going to select app-driven orchestration. Click on select. Let's give it a name, Araj BI REST API, right? You can provide documentation, URL, keywords, package, description, etc. But I'm not going to bother. Click on create. All right, so let's create first component, which is going to be the REST adapter. I believe this is the one. Okay. I'm going to call this run BI report. Click on next. All right, so give it a endpoint name. I'm going to just call it /run report. Make sure to change the action to be post. So this is where we're going to provide the payload information, right? So I'm going to select configure a request payload for this endpoint, configure this endpoint to receive response. All right, click on next. JSON. So we expect the user to pass the payload information in JSON format. That's why I've changed the payload format to JSON, and I'm going to provide that inline JSON example. So let's go back to this one. I'm going to copy this information, provide it here. So this is what we are expecting the user to pass. It's the report name and the parameters. So I'm going to change this. So now you have name, parameter name, right? So that's cool. And the value. So the name of the parameter, and I'll show you what the parameters are. So if I, so this is the BI catalog, and you'll see you have the report and the data model. So let's edit the data model. And if you look at the parameters, you can see that we have p_set_name and p_year. And this is what we're going to be passing here. So this will be p_year. And this will be p_set_name, right? We're going to use the example of corp annual. Let me just change this to 2020. So this is what we're going to pass to the pass as the payload to the REST API. All right, so hopefully this works. All right, so that worked. So if I go back to the inline JSON, you can see that we have report name, parameters, and the different parameters. So this is an array, so you can have one or more parameters. All right, click next. Response. Now we need a response back, right? So let's see what the response is going to be like. I'm just going to have the response as status true, file directory out and file name. All right, so basically what I'm trying to do here is when the process completes, what's the response that I'm getting back as the user. So we have three fields: status, which is true or false, file directory where the file was placed, and the file name. Click OK and click next. All right, that's all we need to do. Click done. All right, so now we need to invoke the BI Publisher report, right? So invoke the BI Publisher report, we need to use the SOAP adapter. So let's do that. Okay, so we are going to use this SOAP adapter. I'll invoke BI report. We're gonna select the run report operation. Then we're done. So let's delete one of these. Let's edit this mapper. All right. So this is our JSON payload. So we have report name and the parameters. All right, let's go to the BI Publisher web service, and you'll see that you have report request, parameter name values, which has item, and in there we have name and value. We have report name. The report name includes the absolute path along with the report name, right? So let's map that to report absolute path. Right, that's fine. Then let's pass name to name here. And value to the item. Okay, and we're going to take the parameters because this is a repeating element. Okay, so parameters is a repeating element, and so is the item, which is part of the parameter name values. Okay, this is also a repeating element. So what we're going to do is, since we have multiple parameters, we need to map the name. So the name, the parameter name, and the value. So we did that. Next, we need to pass the we need to map the repeating element in the payload, the JSON payload, which is parameters. Then we have to map that to the repeating element in the SOAP web service payload, which is item in this case. Okay, so that's what we are mapping. If you don't do this, what happens is the parameters, if there are multiple parameters, it doesn't get passed correctly. If there's only one parameter, it might get passed correctly. But if you have more than one parameters, if you don't map the repeating element to the repeating element in the BI web service payload, it won't work correctly. So map the individual items, name and value, and also the repeating element to the repeating element in the BI Publisher web service. Okay, we need one more, which is size of data chunk download. So right click that, create target node, and let's say -1. All right, I think that's all we need for now. So click on validate. Okay, let's do a quick test. You can click on test here and then click on generate inputs. So let's say this is how you are generating the input, right? So this is our JSON payload. So we have parameters, report name, parameters. So that gets repeated multiple times, right? Name and value, name and value. Now click on execute. So if you go all the way down, we should see, so we have parameter name values, and then we have the name, which is 207, name 207. Then we have values, and within values we have item, which is value 208, and you can see it's value 208 here. And then you have this parameter and the value, and you'll see that we have the same here. So this is one of the parameters, right? And then this one is the other parameter. Close. Cool. All right, now we need to move the file to the FTP server. So let's add a new connection. So we're going to use the target FTP server. Just say write file. Click next. This is going to be write file. Create to type. Keep it simple. Directory, file name. Nope. Next. Done. All right. So we have the BI report, right? And once we invoke the BI report, it generates an output. It'll be in Base64 encoded format. I talk about this in my previous video, so do check it out. So we have an encoded output. We're going to decode it as a file reference and then pass it to the FTP adapter so that it can use that file reference to write the data to the FTP server. All right, let's click on edit mapper. All right, so we have expand ICS file, and you have file reference. So this is what we need. All right, we don't have to worry about anything else. So this is the Invoke BI report request, and this is a response that we get. So let's expand that. All right, so the report bytes is the output that we receive in the Base64 encoded format. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the file reference, then create target node, click on the switch to developer view, and what we're going to do is click on this toggle functions, click on advanced, then you'll see the option decode Base64 to reference. So what it does is, as it says in the description, this function accepts Base64 encoded string as the input. It decodes and returns the reference to a file with the Base64 decoded value. So the report byte is Base64 encoded. We're going to use this function to decode it, and that will pass a file reference. Okay, and that's what we need to pass to the FTP adapter to write the file to the FTP server. All right, so we have this, and drag and drop it here. That's all we need to do. Awesome. think we're good. Click on validate. Close. Now, you remember I deleted mapper, but I need the mapper. So let me see, how do I add a mapper? Wow. Map. Okay, let's do the map and move it here. We are going to, so we need the status, file directory, and file name. So let's look at the write file response. Expand. You'll see the file name, directory, and status. So let's map that. So status, directory, and file name. So basically this is the response that you receive once you invoke this integration. Click on validate. Close. And go to tracking and report name. We need at least one to track, otherwise it's not going to save. All right, so we have the REST adapter, SOAP adapter, FTP adapter here. We have mapped everything correctly. Now let's save this and close. Right, so this is the one. Let's go ahead and activate this. Enable tracing, include payload, activate. All right, while that is happening, let me log into the FTP adapter. Close. FTP server. Okay, I'm going to delete this file. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and test this out. So test. And click on body. This is good. This is good. Now click on test. All right, so it seems like it ran, it generated the file, and we got the response back, which says status is true, file directory is out, file name is glperiods.csv. Gives you all the details here. Now, if we look at the FTP server, you don't see any file here. Let me refresh, and you should see the file here. So let's open it. Corp annual 2020, the date, whatever, all those things. So now let's go back and run this report here. Okay, let's run this report. Click on open. Annual, apply. And you're going to see the same output, right? And that's what we see in the file that was generated in the FTP server. All right, so that's how you can test it. Now let's delete this one more time. Let's test this out from Postman, right? Okay, so this is our endpoint URL. So now let's go ahead and copy that information. Go to Postman, provide that information in here. Make sure you select the method as post. Give the OIC username and password. This is the OIC username and password, not the ERP cloud or HCM cloud or HCM cloud username password. This is the OIC username and password. In body, what we're going to do is we're going to select this, copy this information here, change this to JSON, and click on send. If everything works well, we should get a response back. and which we do. We have the status as true, file directory as out, file name as glperiods.csv. Now we deleted the file from here. Let's refresh and you should see the data. Okay. Now let me delete this data file one more time. Let me change this to 2019. Click on send. Okay, so we got a response. Now let's go back in here, click on refresh. All right, so we have 2019 core panel and everything seems to be working fine. All right, so this was a quick example to show you how to pass parameters to a BI Publisher report and use OIC to invoke BI Publisher report with parameters. Hopefully this was helpful. Do check out my previous videos on the first video where I showed you how to invoke a BI Publisher report. Also, do check out my Medium blog. So I've written a few blogs on BI Publisher web service. So if you're new to this, it might be helpful for you to read this and understand how the web service works, how do you pass parameters. All these four are going to be useful for you guys, so make sure you read this when you get time. Follow me on Medium. I do write posts pretty regularly. All right, that's all I had for today. In the next video, what I'm going to show you is the same example, but a BI Publisher report with multiple layouts, and we'll use JSON payload just like what we did here. So the user has the option to select which layout they want to use. So let's say one is the PDF, one is CSV, one is Excel. So there are different layouts. So we'll use a JSON payload to figure out what kind of layout the user wants, and we will invoke the BI Publisher that way. All right. I just want to thank you all for the support. The channel is growing. We are 722 people strong now. And I'm very grateful for all the feedback and appreciation that I've received. I do have questions like, there are a lot of times you guys ask questions on certain items, and YouTube is not the best way, best medium for that fact to ask and answer those kind of questions. Let's say you have a question on SQL, I may want to take a look at that SQL. Let's say you have a question on OTB, I may want to take a look at that OTB analysis. So if you ask a question on YouTube, I can only respond to that saying, okay, connect with me on LinkedIn and, whatever. I've done Zoom meetings with a few of the folks, trying to figure out what the issue is and trying to understand their question. So my question to you guys is, to guys and girls, is do you want me to create a Slack channel or Discord channel? So that way you can ask questions, share your code with me, share your files with me, and I can take a look at that. Also, if there are other people interested in contributing to the community, and if you want to help other people, let me know. We can start a Slack channel or Discord channel, and we can take it forward from there. All right. That's all I had for today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate the feedback. So if you have any feedback, thoughts, suggestions, let me know. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter, and follow me on Medium. I always try to respond to your comments and questions. All right, guys. I hope you all have a great week ahead, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.